Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 10 Minutes Astrology. Once a week, me and Alejo will bring you some interesting way to learning astrology. Hello, Alejo. How are you?
Hi everyone, very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. And I just, because again, people probably noticed that I'm still in the same place as I recording from last week. I'm in Yevita's office and the Wi-Fi here wasn't that good, so I have to slow down. But I just noticed that when I slowing down my talk, and usually I will because the things for slow down is so interesting because I speak very fast. I do the things fast, so I didn't have
Me
time to
too.
observe other people. But when I slow down, I have more chance to look at the screen and notice what Alejo are usually doing is showing his beautiful face from different angle.
Yes, because I see myself when we're recording, I see myself. It's a problem. I should change this view so that I don't see myself. I only see you because otherwise I get distracted.
Oh God, such a narcissist.
Like my shadow is Leo. Like I pretend not to be Leo and not to have any Leo traits, but they emerge to the surface
Oh my
unconsciously. It's
God.
like my dark side. Yes.
It's a very interesting. I usually don't getting on well with people like this. That is my shadow too. That is my, I think, Sun in Aquarius shadow is I'm not that shy, so I hate people shining.
I'm the opposite. I have planetary envy. I envy people who have the sun in Leo.
But
I
exactly
think
the
it's
same.
so fantastic.
I have that envy too. Like when people are shining and they have that confidence, say, I am this, I'm what I am, I'm this and that. I would just like, oh, give me a break. But as good as long as we notice that's our shadow and we work on it, that's fine. But sometimes still
Yeah.
it is okay to let it out, and it's part of our life journey. So Alejo, today we are talking about a shadow too, right?
Actually, we are. Yes, it's interesting how we start talking about this thing randomly, and they actually part of the podcast because we didn't plan to be talking about this. We were planning to talk about Pluto, and Pluto has to do with the shadow and the darker side of life.
Hmm.
But we hadn't planned to start talking about the shadow, to be honest. So
No.
it's interesting how it kind of emerges. Yes.
Wow. Usually, I think usually as an astrologer, we usually notice the things we do, the article we write, the seminar we work on, or podcast we are talking about, are kind of when we work on certain things, and you will find your connection with it, especially like we are not planning to talking
Mm.
about the shadow side, but Pluto kind of talk about me.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's interesting.
So, when we talk about Pluto's impact on the other planet, and usually how people aware about the Pluto's influence in their chart.
Well, Pluto, we said it's about transformation, it's about changing things, and it's about intensity and power. So I would say that whenever a planet is touching, whenever Pluto is touching another planet, what it's going to do is to push that planet to express in its most intense possible behavior. So this is one of the things I would say. There's also the idea of going to the depths, like going to the darker side of that planet. So being able to see the hidden aspect of that planetary function, the hidden shadow of that planetary function. And of course, if it's a square or an opposition or even a conjunction, I think it's going to be more frightening to do so, and it's going to be more challenging to do so, and perhaps it's going to be harder to see it. If it's a trine or a sextile, I mean, it's still Pluto. It
Mhm.
might be a little bit easier to handle it. I wouldn't say it's going to be easier. I would say it might be a little bit more aware. You might be a little bit more aware of it, but it's still Pluto. It's still a huge level of intensity, which, depending on the whole of your chart, is going to be easier or harder to handle. So it will also bring questions is about power on how to express that planet. If you have the power, or if you feel completely powerless and you feel you cannot express that planet at all. And again, there's a sense of sacrifice, I think, but not in the sense of Neptune, more in the sense of transforming, being able to reshape the way that this planet can be expressed.
Yeah. When you opening the introduction to Pluto, you use such a big word with transformation. I was just like you just like give me something like slapping on my face, bang, like that. Oh my God, that is such. I mean, that is key. That is key of Pluto. But most people didn't notice that. I mean, when I ask my students, say, what is Pluto's word? They would say jealous, hatred, ugly, crisis. But, well, yes, transformation is a very deep and a very heavy thing. But nowadays, to be honest, sometimes I notice some well, maybe some people maybe they does not aware they didn't aware about the power of transformation, and the whole process of transformation is a long, it's a lifelong, and sometimes usually it's a little bit painful, and so they were talking
Yes.
about transformation so easily. Oh, you talk about
Yes.
something like oh, I'm through this and that. Maybe it's just I don't know. So some tiny things also. Yeah, it's part of the transformation. I'm like, wow, only if transformation is that easy.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think transformation sometimes it's a nice way of saying death. Basically, Pluto is about death. The planet has to die in order to be reborn. So if we focus, sometimes I think we do focus on transformation, and we use transformation, and we focus on the idea of being reborn, and it's nice. But this means that the planet has died, and to die, you know, is to go through what they call the dark night of the soul. It's like a very intense, challenging, fearful, difficult process. And yeah, it's
Not easy.
like the butterfly, the worm before it becomes a butterfly is
Yeah.
dying. The worm feels that he's dying. He doesn't feel like I'm turning into a butterfly. He feels like I'm fucking dying. Sorry for the
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, I think that is
Yeah.
true. People are usually some people. I mean, I don't want to say it's bad or good, but I like to remind that the things are usually not just like you just look at a part, easy part, but sometimes the whole things, well, especially when it involves Pluto, it is a crisis. It's usually is a life and death situation. So today we're going to use a very interesting chart, right, Alejo? You select this person too.
Yes. So we're gonna use the chart of Christopher Reeve, who is very well known for portraying Superman.
Well,
The
for our
Superman.
yeah, for our audience, if they are a little bit younger, we probably have to say, yeah, he is the kind of a early Superman. Not today. I think Henry Cavill is a new Superman, and he's going to be replaced soon, I think. But Christoph Reeves is the one many decades years ago. Okay, but he is the Superman we
Yeah.
always remember because it's not only he plays Superman in the movie, he also in his real life is kind of Superman. Every
Yeah.
time we talk about his chart and his life, it gives me goosebumps. So could you give us a very quick background?
So he did perform for Superman. I think it was 4 movies he did for Superman. And in case you don't know the story, Superman basically is this person who has, it's an alien actually, it's not a person. He's coming from another planet, and because he's so close to the sun here on Earth, he gets these superpowers. So he carries 2 lives: the life of Clark Kent, in which he's like a normal, nice, friendly human being, and then the life of Superman, in which he's super powerful, also nice and friendly, but he's super powerful and can do so many different things. I mean, I think I mentioned this because I think in his chart, it's not what we're going to see now, but in his chart, you can see this both this polarity actually between the nice and smiley Clark Kent and the strong and powerful Superman, right?
Yes.
And at some point he had an accident. Was it with a horse?
Yeah, falling from a horse, falling from a horse.
Yeah, and so he became paralyzed, right? He from the neck down or from the waist
Yeah,
down. Do you remember?
yes,
I'm
yes, from
confused
neck
now.
down, totally from neck down. He's totally
Yeah.
paralyzed. Yeah.
But instead of making this like instead of surrendering and giving up, he made of this like he said this is going to make me stronger, and he
Hmm.
built a lot of things from this condition, and he created associations, and he became a public speaker to first of all bring the light into, like, bring awareness into the needs of people with disabilities, and also to encourage them to fight for what they need, fight for what they want, and to kind of pass on this message that you have power, you have strength, you have life, you have power, even if you have a disability. So I think it's a very inspiring example. Yes.
Yeah,
And still
yeah.
working on the Reeves Foundation. It's still alive and working on today. It's still doing work today.
Hmm. Yeah, when I first learned his accident, I was so shocked because he is my first Superman. When back to my time, we only have one Superman, it's him. And then when I noticed that when I heard about his news, I was so sad. And then I realized for a long time we talk about his chart. We use the transit, use solar arc progression, anything to find the timing when he fell from the horse. But to be honest, we didn't notice that he is have such a strong willpower to continuing when once he kind of he's ready, he never give up his life, and he kind of trained himself,
Hmm.
and then back to he's paralyzed, but he's still trying to make himself to can move as much as he can, and that is need a very very powerful will. So what to do with this chart, Alejo?
So in this chart, we have Mars in trine to Pluto. So
Mm.
Mars is the planet of drive and action, and is being supported by Pluto, which is this planet of power, intensity, and transformation. So we would say that his drives, his actions, what he wants to do, and the way he goes into the world to achieve his goals are supported by the intensity of this Pluto, are supported by a sense of power, a sense of possibility, and um, we would say that this is a person who has, the stamina to keep up with his goals, to
Mm.
concentrate a lot of energy in what they want to achieve because it brings intensity, and to follow, to become a leader in this sense, to follow what he wants. Maybe there's also a sense of transformation. Maybe his drives and his achievements are going to be transformed because Pluto is here, and are going to be re-signified, are going to be revitalized through life. But in general, I would say the Pluto trine Mars, Mars trine Pluto, there's this sense of intensity and power and possibility and huge drive to succeed or to do what you're expecting to do.
Yeah. About the Crystal Reeves, because he's the movie star in my time, and the first things I noticed was that he played a super handsome journalist in the somewhere in time, and that is a fantasy love story, but and he's a golden boy, like what, like today's some handsome super young movie star, and then when the story happened, when he fell from a horse, wow, that was a shocking. But the thing he do is like he didn't give up. He really showed us what really a Superman in the real life. Because
Mm-hmm.
you if you only have a super strength, that is not a Superman. But he's a Superman. He
Mm-hmm.
goes through the life and death situation, and he's not give up even with his physical body has been paralyzed, but he fight for it. He fighting back to be mobile and to to do as much as he can, and that willpower is really, like you say, is that Pluto in a 22-degree Leo trine Mars at 18-degree Sagittarius. And that is, every time I talk about this story, I have a goosebump because I wish if one day I face the crisis, any crisis, I want myself as strong as him.
Yes, exactly. Agree.
Yeah. So Alejo, maybe we should give it a exercise.
Okay, since he has also Jupiter square Pluto, I would say try to think about this square instead of a trine. So it's not so much this sense of support, it's more a sense of struggle and challenge. And remember, Jupiter is your beliefs and how you expand. Pluto is the thing we said, right? So what kind of challenges and struggles might have he had gone through in his life?
That would be so interesting. And also, I usually heard about some astrologer talking about the Jupiter Pluto aspect that related to some super whales, and I just feel like, oh, why? And I realized sometimes they describe the Pluto, use the Pluto just with a very simple keyword, go extreme. And then it's like, well, yeah. It's not right or wrong, but it's like, well, that is very interesting, but for me, it's a little bit simplified. Not just extreme, but there is more things there with this kind of, with the meaning of Pluto, because is one of the planets that have so many different dimensions, from a hidden, from the crisis, from the transformation, from life and death. So many words we can use to describe Pluto. And yet people are kind of usually afraid about it because one thing, we don't like to talk about death. And people are so scared about it. So, well, thanks, Alejo, and thank you everyone for watching and listen 10 Minutes Astrology. Today, we talk about aspect from Pluto. And next week, I'll back to UK, so I will not have this slow internet, so we're probably going to do that when I'm back to UK. But we already decide what we're going to talk about. Alejo.
Was it Chiron?
I think so.
Okay. Because we mentioned the nodes also, so I was confused now. Yes. Chiron. Okay. Yes.
Next week we're going to talk about Chiron, one of the celestial body I love most. And anyway, I love all the planets. Anyway, so but I really like Chiron. And so next week we're talking about Chiron. And if you have any idea, if you want to share some opinion, if you have some comment want to share with us or feedback, please you can join us on the Facebook group 10 Minutes Astrology. You can leave on a comment here on the comment area, but also you can just send message to Alejo on his Instagram. Alejo, your Instagram is?
My Instagram is Liminal Cosmos.
So you can contact Alejo on the Instagram with find him on the Liminal Cosmos, reading or any question or learning astrology with Alejo. Okay. And see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.